Not a great way to go into the weekend. U.S. markets fell sharply to close the week as investors braced for a wave of potential tariffs from the Trump administration. The Dow, you can see there, fell more than 700 points. President Trump recently said he plans to slap a tariff of 25% on car imports. He says he'll reveal more in April. Many U.S. car makers have plants in Canada and Mexico, meaning U.S. tariffs could raise prices and hurt the auto sector right across North America. Flavio Volpe is the president of Canada's Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. He says a 25% tariff would shut down the North American auto industry. Flavio, good to see you again. Listen, you have been hard at work of trying to get yet another deal on this. I will point out there is a deal on this. There's a trade deal between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico that includes cars. So listen, in your negotiating in the last few days, what can you tell us? How far are you guys getting? And do you think there is a deal to be had here in the coming days?
Well, there needs to be a deal because what we're trying to explain to everybody is, especially in Washington, is you can't make a car without all of the parts. And if you're in a business where everybody makes 6 or 7% and you suddenly put 25% tariff on all the parts and the steel and aluminum that come in from Canada and from Mexico into the U.S. and go the other way around, no one's going to pay that bill. No one's going to make those cars. And we saw on the first day of the pandemic, or when the Detroit Windsor Bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, closed in 2022. When you don't get those parts, everybody shuts down. And that's all across states in the Midwest and the Southeast as well.
Flavio, you've been preaching this for weeks. Is anyone listening? I think many of us find it difficult to really understand who Donald Trump is listening to. Do you have a sense that whomever you're talking to in Washington, that they do have the ear of the president?
Well, I think a lot of people who are going to be useful, like Howard Lutnick, who, in fairness to him, is a real trade hawk, but at least he deals in math and science. Hopeful that people like that around him will understand that I don't care if you don't care about people in Toronto or Montreal or Coahuila and Monterey, but you should care about people in Huntsville, Alabama and Livonia, Michigan, who, as you take really hard shots at people and industries and suppliers in Canada and Mexico, you're really going to shut down business for people for dozens of companies in Lisa McClain's, Representative Lisa McClain's district in Michigan. And so what happened last time was, we had to wait until the pendulum swung a little bit more. I think a lot of this is an expression of decades of what the Americans see as decline in manufacturing prospects for them. And then sooner or later they start listening to perhaps, look, in Canada, we're about 60% off peak automotive production since we joined the NAFTA from 1994 to 1998. So it's not like we took anything from you. We're working together to fight against the Chinese. I'm hoping that we get through this period, and then as we sit down, maybe ultimately to renegotiate that USMCA that he drove in his first term, that the math gets to the table, and the math is not bad.
And talking about the math, you and I have been talking in the last few weeks, whereas I did not think that the market was really pricing any of this in. I'm not sure that they are, even with, as much as the markets have fallen today. Do you think that's what the president ultimately will listen to, that that's what it is going to take? I mean, some of the auto manufacturers have been forceful, some of them haven't been.
Yeah, look, we had a deadline on February 1st when we first thought all of this 25% universal tariff was going to go in. And on January 31st, the last day, I think, before the last shift, we saw the markets, the overnight markets, down 6 or 7 points in Japan for the car companies. And then they opened in New York 4 to 10% down. And we saw deals through that day to buy another 30 days. Important people like Jim Farley, who is the CEO of Ford Motor Company, the most American and the oldest automaker, say out loud in the interim period, look, the tariffs you're threatening on Canada and Mexico are going to blow a hole through the American industry. Work with us. Let's work together on how to do this. We're so intertwined. Like the 2 million cars that are made in Canada every year, half are by American brands with 55% American raw materials, 50% American parts. You can't separate the omelet after it's been made. And so hopefully more people like Jim will be heard.
Flavio, I think you need to speak to an audience of one. We'll see if anyone in Canada or Mexico gets that audience. Maybe Canada should have just bet it all on the one game on the ice and bet the car industry on that. It would have worked out kind of well, no?
Well, he's got Wayne Gretzky listening to him, but we've got Connor McJesus here. Maybe he can be the negotiator.
We are going to move right into that Connor McJesus here in a moment. Flavio Volpe will continue to check in with you. Thank you.